We don't often think of this when we go to Mass, but everyone we just heard about in the Scriptures, every one of them is one of our relatives. We are descendants of everyone we ever read about. We're the chips off the old block. We've got their DNA, and we have their traits. And we hear about two sets of those ancestors tonight. We hear about our most ancient, most distant relatives who are known for their weakness and for their sin. And then we hear about our mother, who is known for her grace. What can we learn by looking back through our family tree? Well, let's start by looking at our first ancestors. We know the story. We probably could all turn and tell it to each other. They were in the Garden of Paradise, and we're told, just don't go to that one tree. For your own good, just don't go to that one tree. And what did they do? They went to the one tree. And we enter the story tonight with everybody having known the background. Nobody needs any introduction into what happened. We hear that Adam is hiding. And God says, Adam, what's going on? Why are you hiding? And Adam says, because I'm naked. And God says, who taught you that word? Who even told you you were naked? How did you even figure this out? That was never a problem before. See, the thing that Adam experienced in eating the forbidden fruit was he was encoded with like a computer virus. That's what happened to Adam and Eve. They were encoded with a lie. And the lie they were encoded with was, you are separate from God. And because you're separate from God, you should be afraid. And here's the issue with all of us. We have this encoding. So as soon as Adam and Eve had this virus planted in them, as soon as they got this encoding, they stopped being able to see the image of God in themselves or in each other. They start covering up. They start hiding. They start blaming and competing. Don't you love that part of the story? Why did you eat the apple? Well, she gave it to me. Why did you give him the apple? Well, he made me. It's over and over again. It's the blame game. That started when the virus got unleashed. We also hear that they are always struggling against life. You know, we always feel like life is out to get us, or it's just one dang thing after another. You've probably heard that before. You've probably said that before. Here's the issue. We are unable to stop believing this lie. It helps at least if we can name it. Oh my gosh, there it is. There's the lie. The lie is that we're separate from God, and that was never true. God placed God's own image in us. That was never true, but we believe it. And we've believed it for such a long time. This has been in the human family for so long. We call it our original problem. This is original sin. It's the original problem that we had, and it's the one that we can't seem to shake. So now, after looking at our first ancestors, let's take a look now at our mother. We believe on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, we state something very simple, actually. It's very simple. It is that all of us have this virus, this encoding of a lie that confuses us and gets us off base all the time. But one person was spared from it. One person was given the grace not to be born with this encoding. And it's Mary. She didn't believe the lie. She lived her life in a different way than the way people who believe in the lie live their lives. She's the only one ever who was born without this ancient problem. And because she was, she gives us a glimpse of what that looks like. And we hear it in the story tonight. She is so open that she can experience angels. She doesn't let her unbelief stop her from having any experience. She experiences angels. She receives frightening news without reacting right away. She doesn't react like a lot of us would. She lets it come to her. In fact, you can even hear in this story the waves of fear. Can't you hear the waves of fear? Like, she was troubled, it says, when the angel greeted her. And she questioned, how could this be, considering what's true about my life? But she didn't bite the hook of the fear. She let the waves pass. She didn't react. She instead responded. And how did she respond? She said, hey, I'm the handmaid of the Lord. If this is God's plan, sign me up. Sign me up. If this is what God wants, I'm in. Because she had that openness. She didn't believe that she was separate from God. Mark Twain once said that courage is not when we have an absence of fear. It's when we feel the fear, but go forward anyway. Courage, he said, is the mastery of fear. So check in with yourself right now for a moment. Can you see how, when we understand original sin in this way, can you see how you've been encoded this way? Can you see how fear sometimes drives the bus in your life, as it does in mine? Do you ever find it impossible to trust God? Was there a point in your life where you were able to trust God up to a certain point, but then there was a point where it was just too far? It was just too far. God, I can't handle this. Do you wind up seeing other people as competitors or enemies, as so many of us do? If you're like me, this is your story. This is how life is. And it's so much harder than it was meant to be. It's because we believe the lie. Sometimes we have glimmers of not believing it, but they pass. So if fear is the problem, what do you do with all those people who don't admit to being afraid? I'm not afraid. I don't know what you're talking about, Father Scott. I am not afraid. But you know what you hear from a lot of people who don't admit to being afraid? They use a different word. You know what they say? They say, I'm stressed. Stress is the achiever's word for fear. Stress is what people say when they don't want to admit they're afraid. We say, I'm so stressed right now. Stress is one of the things that shows us that we're encrypted with the lie. Because we're running all the time from some unseen force pursuing us. And Mary felt the waves, but let them pass. When fear knocked on the door, Mary allowed her faith to answer. So a lot of us could say, this is all very nice, but Mary's the one who has the grace of the Immaculate Conception. I don't have that. How am I supposed to act like her? And that's true. That's true. We carry the DNA of our earliest ancestors, and we have been encrypted with a lie. But we also carry her DNA, and she is much more closely related to us than Adam and Eve are. She is much closer in our lineage than they were. So we may not have her grace, but we have her example. So let us decide tonight to be more like our mother, because we may not know what the future holds, but we can be like her, who is happy just to be able to know the one who holds the future.